This is Lenny Wennerstrom, Common Sense Health Expert. Welcome to the Wild and Free Healthy You podcast. Without your health, there isn't much joy in life, so here we talk about all facets of health, including lots of unconventional strategies, tools, and solutions from a holistic point of view. This podcast is all about motivation, inspiration, and expansion of your mind, your body, and your spirit, because your health is your number one asset, and my job is to help you protect it. Now, on to today's episode of the Wild and Free Healthy You podcast. This podcast does not provide medical advice. The purpose is to promote consumer knowledge and information on various health topics. Always seek the advice of your qualified health practitioner. Welcome to the Wild and Free Healthy You podcast. And I am Lenny Wennerstrom, Common Sense Health Expert. And my guest, my amazing, beautiful guest today is the hormone queen, Pamela Windle. Pamela Smart Windle. That's how you go, right?
Well, actually, it's Pamela Windle, not Smart Windle. However, on my Facebook name, it just says Smart.
Well, you're kind of smart, so you should. Okay, so let me just say what this girlie does. So Pamela is an integrated women's health coach and specializes in preventing ill health and hormonal balance for the peri-menopause, menopause, and the beyond woman. She combines her expertise in functional nutrition, functional movement, diagnostic testing. We're going to talk about that test, what's that test?
The Dutch test.
Yeah, the Dutch test, dry Dutch test. Diagnostic testing, hypnosis, and lifestyle medicine to recreate hormonal harmony and optimal health. We love optimal health. She firmly believes that women can age well, remaining strong and vibrant. She's worked in the field of health for over 20 years. We're so young. We're so wise. So, what were we talking about before we actually started recording? Because we're going to talk about pelvic floor health. I mean, we're going to talk about all things hormone today, but pelvic floor health is what Pamela is really focused on this week. So let's talk a little bit about that, because that's so key to having a good and non-irritating life. And I mean, all the things that is important to women, especially after childbirth and all of that. Sometimes our pelvic floor kind of just drops. The bladder drops. We drop. So tell us a little bit about that, Pamela. And thank you for coming on the show. I'm so grateful to have you.
Thank you so much for having me as well. But pelvic floor health is a topic that women don't generally talk about, and a lot of women just put up with these symptoms and don't do anything about it. And I think, women who are in the perimenopausal years and beyond that, it's time, if you had a problem in childbirth and you've not sought any help out between then and where you are today in your 40s or 50s, it's time to get it sorted, because the longer you leave that, once the hormones change, when we get to postmenopause, that is just going to get so much worse. And, you don't want to end up in incontinence pads, do you really, at the age of 60 or 70, or, the rest of your life. So it's like about preventing that happening now.
What are the symptoms besides incontinence down the road? Or there's dribbling, you pee when you sneeze or laugh.
Or any exercise, jumping, you would pee.
Yes.
One of the symptoms that I think that I kind of find that a lot of women just accept and go, oh no, it's not that, is the fact that they're waking up at, a couple of times a night to go to the bathroom. And a lot of women think, oh, I'm just awake because I need to pee. Well, actually, you should be able to not pee all the way through the night and pee in the morning, and so a lot of women just accept that potentially actually could be a problem to do with their pelvic floor. Not
That's
that they
interesting. I didn't really think about that. I think about that with men and their prostate.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. So is that a weak bladder, or is that a weak pelvic floor, or are we talking about the same thing?
Yes, it could be weak pelvic floor, or it could be weak bladder, or tight pelvic floor even. So it doesn't even have to be weak.
Can you explain what the pelvic floor is?
Okay, so our pelvic floor is a muscle that runs from the pubic bone all the way to the back, to your bottom, to the, what's that bone called? Um,
A bone.
yeah, a bone. Oh God, a bone. Yeah. Okay,
We know
got
about where it
it.
is. That's
Coccyx.
okay.
Okay, coccyx. Got it.
We
Okay.
just need,
Yeah.
I just wanted to give kind of like a little basic in case women didn't really know. And so my audience is typically 35 to 65 plus women, of course. And so the ones who are 35 might be saying, what's a pelvic floor? so,
Okay.
so I was just trying to get that. But so they just need to understand that that's good enough. That's the basics. So
Yeah. So it's just a muscle that runs, underneath us,
yeah.
and it's where we pee from, where we give
Mhm.
birth, and where we defecate as well. So
So if
that's
you
the
do Kegel exercises, you are strengthening that, or I don't know how Kegel exercises, right? Where you're tightening and like if you're sitting down and you're peeing and you're tightening and letting it go and peeing and letting it go, the flow,
yeah.
is that the pelvic muscle that you're squeezing and working?
That would be the pelvic floor muscle that's working. However,
Yes. Oh, okay.
best not to. However, it's best not to stop your pee in flow because actually you could cause an infection. So it's best not.
What? That's new news to me because, you know, not against doctors in Western medicine, but I mean, every doctor, female, say that's how you need to stop and start so that that's the muscle and that's how you strengthen it. I didn't know anything about an infection. So why
Yes,
would it cause an infection? That's new news to me. I love this. Okay. Teach me.
because you're potentially drawing back urine up into the bladder. So the best time to exercise your pelvic floor is when you're not urinating.
Oh, okay. Well, I kind of do it all the time. So that's,
Yeah.
that's my test to make sure that I'm strong. If I can like stop it, then I know I'm strong. But I didn't realize that I could be creating an infection, which I thought urine was pretty clean.
Well, I mean, who knows whether it's clean or not, really? Because,
Okay.
where does an infection come? Where does a UTI come from? A water infection come from?
Okay. So I don't think it comes from the urine, does it? A bladder infection comes from inside.
Comes
I
from the
guess.
gut?
Well, I mean, anything going in on the lining, right? So I guess we're both kind of out of our depth on that one.
Yeah,
but
yeah, perhaps. But
so it's all the microbes and the bacteria when you have excess. So if you're eating excess sugar, or I mean, then it or you're not hydrating sufficiently, then it creates a really acidic environment in the bladder and creates problems. So you need to be hydrating correctly, and you need to be not eating a whole lot of acidic foods with sugar and meat and cooked foods and things like that are very acidic. So you need to balance that so that you kind of have a more, so that what's going through there is, I guess, more alkaline. So I'm out of
yeah,
my depth on that one. So anyway, okay. So the pelvic floor is a critical piece to not being incontinent. And we see so many women like in the big box stores. I don't know if you have Costco, but you probably have real big box stores, and they're buying big boxes of diapers, and
yeah.
it's really sad to see that. And it would be super uncomfortable and create, for me, it would, I feel when I see that, I feel like maybe I would feel less confident. I would feel uncomfortable for sure physically. And and depending on like where I'm going, like I would always have to have, because I remember my mother was incontinent, and she was always had to have her diapers, always, like wherever she went. And it was just such a struggle for her. It just, and also you're worried about the smell. And I mean, it just like goes beyond. It's just it's not a fun thing. So if we exercise the pelvic floor, what you're saying is we can avoid all that.
Yeah, but there are other lifestyle things that we can do as well. The diaphragm is connected to the pelvic floor. So if we're constantly in a state of stress and we're not breathing in properly and we're not breathing out properly, then that also is going to potentially weaken or tighten the pelvic floor muscle. So, breathing correctly, being overweight, that extra weight in the abdominal, that also puts pressure on the pelvic floor muscle, again, weakening it. The way we stand, the way we sit, if we're slouching all the time, if our posture is incorrect, we're rounded around the shoulders, that kind of thing is going to have an impact on the pelvic floor.
Yeah, I can see that. So would deep breathing be a good exercise?
Yeah,
for,
so diaphragm
because it's for the diaphragmatic breathing. Would that help to strengthen? So I mean, that would help with the posture. Obviously, that would help with detoxifying, but that would literally help with the pelvic floor.
Yeah, so because the pelvic floor sometimes can, you're doing it now.
Yeah, it's like, because I try and get real conscientious, obviously, very mindful when I deep breathe. I obviously am missing something because I just did it. I'm like, she's right. Like, it goes all the way down. Like, that's really cool. Yeah, I love it.
The idea of the pelvic floor is not that it's always weak. Sometimes it can be tight. And it could present as being weak. So leaking or rushing to the toilet might not be that you have a weak pelvic floor muscle. It could be that it's tight. And it could be tight because you are stressed, because you're a constant state of stress. Have you ever noticed when you're stressed, you squeeze your bum? Your bum, I'm definitely one of those women that I carry stress in my bum. So I'm tensing my bum muscles if I feel stressed. And that is overworking my pelvic floor muscle.
Interesting. No, I'm usually like this.
You're a shoulder girl.
I obviously need to get a little more mindful, Pamela. Wait, I'm deep breathing and it goes all the way down. It's the entire core. Well, I mean, it is a core exercise. So that's part of your core. The pelvic floor is part of your core. So that's interesting. I'm just going to get a little more mindful when I'm deep breathing now. That's really cool. So what else about so interesting. So it's tight. So stress, what are some of the things to relieve that stress that you have your clients practice? Like what would you, like if you said, okay, Lenny, you have a very tight pelvic floor, and so here's what I want you to do. What would you direct me to do?
Well, to be honest, I don't work in that way with clients. So if a client is struggling with any of the above that we've talked about, leaking or, waking up in the middle of the night or, actually incontinent, I would definitely refer on to a physiotherapist, a woman's health physiotherapist that specializes in that area. So that's kind of,
I suppose that is kind of like a therapy, because my daughter actually had therapy to work with her on issues like, was it PC, what is that? PCOS?
Oh, okay, yeah.
What is that?
Polycystic.
Yes.
Yes,
polycystic. Oh, how do you say the rest of it?
Ovarian cyst?
Something. Yeah, exactly. To work with, but and that involved the pelvic floor. So that was kind of like my first introduction years ago to, I mean, not that you don't know, because we're taught, like, you want to strengthen that muscle, you're doing Kegel exercises or other exercises. So that was kind of like my first, okay, there is a pelvic floor. That was interesting to me. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about, or can we go on to hormones? Because I know, like, women are just like, hormonal issues are like all over the board now, and I mean, not now, but I mean always, right? But we can talk about them, but they're even more so with, say, glyphosate, right? And all these estrogenic the foods and estrogenic mimicking things that are getting onto the receptors and molecules and stuff. So is there anything else on pelvic floor that you'd like to talk about?
Just say that, even if you've not had a child, you've never given birth vaginally, so you may have had a cesarean, your pelvic floor muscle has been under stress while you've been pregnant as well, even if you've had a cesarean. But also, for all women, when we get to postmenopause, so when the hormones change and we're not supported, our ligaments aren't supported as they were in our fertile days, all women need to, in advance, start working and paying attention to pelvic floor muscle.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I just, all this prevention, all the preventative measures that we can possibly do. And it's funny, as you get older, you start seeing all the things that you could have done, like when you were younger, that you didn't do, that you better get on if you don't want to. I think, like, to look at women who are struggling now, like I can look at my mother who was struggling with that and was overweight and didn't exercise, and she just had a lot of physical issues. And so I can use that as a model and look back and say, okay, it's I love you, my mommy, but I don't want to be like that. And I want to make sure that I'm exercising and I'm hydrating and I'm sleeping good and I'm relaxing my pelvic muscle and doing the exercises so that I'm not incontinent. You know, I'm not peeing in my pants when I rebound, because that's like my favorite exercise ever. And I do it all the time, you know, and when I run or jump or laugh or sneeze or cough, you know, that I'm not peeing in my pants. And it's just, you know, it's a comfort thing. So prevention or preventative measures is kind of like the best before you get to where you're being treated for symptoms, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go into hormones. Hormones. Woo hoo hoo. They make us crazy, and we're not. They make us mad. They make us they make us have fun. It's just all kinds of stuff. I love hormones, very honestly.
Yeah.
They can get a little out of whack, a little imbalanced, but Pamela's going to help us to bring them back into balance. So let's talk about that. How do, you know, some of my questions to you, and we'll have these on the show notes, but like, what, for a woman to feel like she's like really upset during her periods, or when she's getting close to menopause, perimenopause, or just like having those fluctuations, like, you know, like, and so many women, the one thing that they always say, they feel so alone, they always say, I just feel like I'm crazy. You know, people think I'm crazy. I mean, that's like isn't that like a typical thing that you find? Like, we feel alone in in those kinds of things. And we don't, I think it's because we don't really talk to other women. Like, do you feel crazy when you're starting your period, or, you know, when you're getting into menopause? I'm already menopause out because I had my uterus taken out. So, yeah, I was into Western medicine back when. So goodbye uterus, hysterectomy for fibroids, right? That you don't need to do. By the way, you don't need to do that, women. You can dissolve fibroids. But anyway, so let's talk about those feelings of feeling, you know, alone and crazy, and what brings us on, so that women don't feel alone.
Yeah, it is something that's becoming more obvious. And I think it's because people like yourself and like me and other practitioners who specialize in that area, we're out there, aren't we, saying, hold on, ladies, you don't have to suffer alone. And I think up until it feels very current to me that women literally suffered in silence, and they did feel like they were on their own, and they had nowhere to go to express how they were feeling, and they wouldn't even talk to their closest friends, which is bizarre. You know, when you talk about childbirth and getting pregnant, we talk about that, don't we, quite openly, and yet then the next significant change in a woman's life as she's heading towards, you know, menopause, it's somehow a taboo subject. And I think, you know, women feel almost disgraced at the fact that they are heading towards a menopause. And that largely, I think, and probably you might agree, is to do with the media and how the menopause is presented to us. You know, I just approaching the perimenopausal years. And from, you know, what I've learned in the media for years is that it is something to be afraid of. And so why would you talk about something that you've been told that you should be fearful of? And, you know, you wouldn't admit to anybody that you're going through it.
I'm getting old.
Yeah.
The society that we're supposed to all be young and skinny and pretty and all of that. So, and who wants to say, oh my God, I'm having hot flashes? And, you know, and women actually feel, the ones like at the food bank where I volunteer on Fridays, there are several of them, and they're like this, like all of a sudden, you know. And me personally, when I was like, before I got into getting healthy again, I literally would just sweat like during the night. I call it a 3 t-shirt night, because you're like flipping off the t-shirt and putting another one on, and it's crazy. I mean, the only good thing about that is like you're detoxifying, getting heavy metals and crap out of your skin.
Yeah, but there's kind of nicer ways of doing that, isn't there?
That's the only good thing I can say, but it's very uncomfortable, and I think that like my hands would get really sweaty and disgusting and sticky. It's like, oh, it was so, and the stench. I'm like, oh my God, like you can't take enough showers. It's almost like being in a super tropical place, and it's so humid that it's like you could live in a shower.
Really, yeah.
So yeah, what is your like, how can women work through? I mean, I know it worked for me, and that was getting off all the prescription medications and starting to hydrate and starting to get healthy. And as soon as I did that, and I went vegan. I didn't know what vegan was, but I mean, it was just all plants, so plant-based. I'm not vegan, but primarily plant-based now, but that's what I was. But as soon as I did that, that was like a great detox, and getting off all those medications and all of that. And it just stopped. Like it all just went away. Like everything went away. What do you suggest? Like, how do you help women with that? And the mindset is really important. I know, because the feeling like, oh my God, you know, going out in public and sweating and all of that, but also the physical, like how do they deal with that? How do you help your clients? It's a big thing, really is.
Yeah, it is. So hot sweats, obviously there's, you know, a lot of symptoms that women experience in that phase of life, and hot sweat seems to be one of the common ones, whether it's at night, in the middle of the night like you had, whether it's during the day. And, you know, it's something that you can resolve really easily. And that's the thing that I can't get over, is that, you know, women feel like they can't, because on the internet there's so much information out there, and they don't know where to start, basically. But it is something that you can, within a month of changing things, changing the food that you eat, the cosmetics you put on your body, shampoo.
I'm so glad you said that. Okay.
You know, body lotion, sun cream, all skincare products, even down to her, you know, soap powder that we use, detergent and conditioners that we put on our clothes, even down to that, the meats that you eat, you know, where does that meat come from? What was that meat raised on? You know, what hormones is that meat having as well? And even the plant-based food, what was it sprayed on before you consumed it? You know, so never mind, you know, a lot of people just thinking, in fact, I'm jumping around here, but somebody contacted me this week on Facebook and said, you know, I'm struggling with these hot sweats. I'm eating flax seeds, I'm exercising, I'm doing weight training, and I'm running. And, you know, and I think that's so sad that a woman feels that she doesn't know what to do to eliminate the hot sweats. She's read on the internet you need flax seeds because it's estrogen based, isn't it?
Yes.
However, it depends why she's
Yeah,
but it also depends why she's having those hot sweats. Is it because she's estrogen dominant, which therefore she'd need to cut out all those things that we've talked about.
That she's adding because she read on the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That actually making things worse.
But it was on the internet, Pamela. It has to be true.
I know, I know.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Or is it the fact that she's actually low in estrogen? You know, is that what's causing the hot sweat? So it's finding out what is the cause of it, and then you can work with that appropriately. But, you know, like you said, balancing the blood sugar levels is so important instantly. That's the first thing I do with my clients, is help them to balance the blood sugar levels. And then, you know, about detoxification, you know, making sure they're having good quality foods and eliminating all of the rubbish stuff.
And so give us some rubbish stuff and some good foods.
Okay, so rubbish stuff is like all your processed foods, sugar, maybe even dairy products as well. For some people, you know, not everybody thrives on dairy, and it's working out what's right for you as well.
And that can also be, like you were talking about the meat, like the cow, the same thing. Like, what was that cow grazing on? Was it grass, or is it like eating grains and that are sprayed with Monsanto's Roundup, right? So that's estrogenic, right? So just to toss that in. So what else?
Yeah, so definitely your meats, where the source is. So again, processed food, any processed food, and even down to gluten as well. For some women, you know, that could be a trigger to cause that estrogen dominance as well. And then, you know, you're talking about eating regularly, you know, making sure you're not starving yourself, because during the perimenopausal years with your hormones, you know, they're kind of all over the place, and the body just wants to create harmony all the time. That's what the body wants. Mm-hmm. And in the perimenopausal years, the hormones aren't in harmony. So the fact they aren't in all harmony, that means that the body is in a state of stress. So just being in a state of stress will cause cortisol release, and therefore you're likely to experience more hot sweats as a result of that. So making sure that you're eating a balanced diet and eating regularly throughout the day, so you're not skipping breakfast, you're having breakfast an hour awake in, you're not missing lunch and dinner, you know, and really paying attention to your body, listening to your body, those signals that she's talking to you. So if you're having a hot sweat, or you're feeling anxious or thirsty, you know, is to act on those signals that your body's actually talking to you. So putting good quality food in, lots of green leafy vegetables, broccoli, for instance, is great for hot sweats as well. So it helps detoxify the liver. You call it cilantro, I think. We call it
coriander.
Coriander.
Well, but coriander is the seed, right? And then the cilantro are the leaves, I think, is the but yeah, it's, I mean, I think it's I mean, I've got coriander seeds, and then I have cilantro. It's really kind of funny, huh? Between the UK and us, we're just like
yeah, so we call it all
coriander.
Yeah. All of it.
Well,
and then
either one, those are good for you.
yeah, definitely. Parsley as well, cucumber, you know, all those foods are great to help detoxify the liver as well. And that's what you need to focus on, you know, focus on eliminating all those toxic foods and chemicals in your body. That will definitely have a massive impact on hot sweats and hormonal balance.
Isn't it funny how it doesn't matter what it is, it pretty much comes down to the same thing all the time, right? Like common sense, like eat real, whole, organic food. So it's not, at least I was going to say, so it's not sprayed. There's, you know, spray goes across and stuff, but I mean, at least it's your best chance, you know, to go organic if you possibly can, and to exercise, to hydrate, drinking clean water. I mean, it's kind of funny, no matter what it is, like those basic fundamental steps are what are going to pull you out of your funk and all of that. At least it's going to give you a chance to then start finding, right?
Absolutely.
Start finding where you need to go next. That Dutch test, the dry Dutch test, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a dry urine hormonal test. that is available in the United States and in the
Yes.
UK and across, I think, across the world, I think. You just need to find a practitioner that will do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an incredible test, and I really believe that every woman should have it. And here in the UK, we obviously have the NHS system, but it's in the UK, if you're the age of 45 and below, you can have your hormones tested. Above 45, the NHS won't test your hormones unless it's on, unusual circumstances. So, if you're 45 plus, forget it.
That's interesting. You'd think it'd be like the opposite way. That's it. Well, I'm not going to go into reasoning for NHS or Western medicine. So what does it test for? It's hormones. So it's just, is it the balance in the hormones or?
Yeah, so it tests the balance, which is good to know what your
Yeah.
balance is.
Yes.
Between progesterone and estrogen, but it goes into even more detail. So it tells you how your body is actually using those hormones. So it tells you about, initially at the top of the sheet, so the actual report, it tells you about your adrenal health. So it tells you, this gives you a range of where your adrenal health should be. And so it gives you a marker for that. And then it will tell you about your progesterone as well. And it gives a menopausal marker as well. So you can have it from when you're fertile all the way through to peri-menopause, and then the postmenopausal marker as well, which is really good to know. And then it tells you about your estrogen levels, so your 3 types of estrogens. But then most importantly, because then you can see the ratio between your progesterone and estrogen as well, because they need to be in balance. For us to feel normal as women, those 2 hormones need to be in balance. And then it goes into testosterone as well, and your androgens, so how your body's using your androgens. And then it goes back to your estrogens and looks at your first detoxification system. And that's where you can see, for somebody who was struggling with hot sweats, how they wouldn't probably detoxify an estrogen very well out of their body. But then it also looks at methylation as well, which is really serious stuff, because you want to know that you're getting rid of estrogen out of your body. So it's like deep detoxification from the liver. So it's really cool. And then it tells you about your melatonin levels as well. So it gives you a range for that. And then it also gives you a range for your cortisol as well. So your daily cortisol pattern. So upon waking all the way through to sleep, it tells you what your cortisol levels are doing, but also your total cortisol, which is equally as important. And, as we know, cortisol is like your friend and your foe, isn't it?
Right.
If it's
you need it.
Yeah.
You need it to mount an attack or to get moving. But you also need it to go down. You need it to go back.
Yeah. So you need it to be high in the morning when you wake up, so you get out of bed and you feel lively.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I shouldn't say mountain attack, but I mean it's it's like that you're not feast or famine. You're, what is it?
Fight or flight.
Yeah, fight or flight. Yeah, like that's the you need that. You need the cortisol.
Yeah, exactly. So you need it, but however,
and to get up in the morning so you can move and have
absolutely
willpower.
Yes, motivation. Yeah, exactly.
Motivation.
Yeah. So if it's a high in the night when you're meant to be sleeping, then cortisol is not your friend; it's your foe.
And it's creating constant inflammation. I mean, it's just in your body. So there are all kinds of other things that happen from that.
Yeah, so it gives you markers of that. Also tells you about your DNA, whether you're at risk of DNA damage. So it gives you a marker for that. And then,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And obviously we don't know what that would be, because it could be inflammation that's causing that. It could be depression. It could be, anything on towards, such as cancer as well. But it does give you an indication of that. And then they've added some new markers as well. So your B6 and B12, so about neurotransmitters as well, which is so important for female health as well. So the Dutch test is incredible. And I really believe that every woman should have it.
So it's called the Dutch test, not the dry Dutch test. I think it's dry urine, right?
Yes, dry urine.
It is a dry urine test.
Yeah.
So what do? You pee on something 5 times, like different time, and then let it dry and then send it in to the lab. How does it work?
Yeah. So the you get like little sheets, get 5 of them, and they look like tissue paper almost. And so you pee on them at specific times throughout the day, up to 5 times, and they have to dry for 24 hours. And once they dry, you package them up, send them off to the lab, and then the lab sends your results back.
I think that's really, really awesome. I know a lady who does that, and she said it's just like one of the most important tests that you can do for yourself. And I shouldn't say a lady; she's actually a naturopath.
Okay.
So if somebody wanted to have you do that for them, I mean, if they're in the UK, can you do that for people in the United States, or I mean, you can do that for anybody, or how does that work?
Anybody, but they would just have to go through. In the UK, I use a company called Regenerous, whereas in the United States, you actually buy it from the Dutch test company. So,
okay.
But Regenerous, the labs are the same, I think. So you just buy your test from the United States and then send the results to me, whereas in England, I order the test for my clients. So that would be.
But if somebody wanted to have, say somebody were here in the United States, say, okay, so Pamela, I'd like to do the dry test so I can order it and do it. Then can I send you my results and you read them to me?
Yeah. So
okay.
I'd interpret the results for you. Yeah.
You're so good. I interpret the results. Like, can you read those for me? Can you tell me what this means?
It is like another language. It seriously is. The results are. I don't know if you've ever seen the London Underground system. It's just like colours and map, and lanes and things. It's just absolutely crazy, and it's really hard work to know and understand. It's so busy, and you have to study it, and that's what the results come back.
Yeah. It's like that. It's kind of crazy and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So hormones really affect us in so many ways. And to get back to the very beginning when I was talking about like feeling crazy or feeling alone and stuff, my message with health is just that there's hope. I mean, that everything is solvable. Everything is, you're not alone, and you can pretty much fix anything. I mean, if you have something amputated, well, maybe you can't grow that back. I think you, at some point, maybe, I don't know, but I mean, but things internally, when we detoxify, when we do things, I mean, I find people feel hopeless and helpless, and they feel alone, and that really bothers me, because our health is our number one asset, and like me, you and I are here to help them to protect that asset, and it's in messages like this that we can reach other women and people, but reach women and tell them, like, things are okay, and there are people like Pamela that can help you to go through this, and you don't have to struggle alone, and you're not alone. I mean, like, millions and millions of women are going through this, and they're all like, oh my gosh, I'm all by myself. No, none of us are by ourselves. So the human experience is a very, very, alone, individual and unique experience, because we are individuals if we're not speaking spiritually.
Yeah.
But a lot of the symptoms and everything are the same. We just experience them differently. Yeah. So what are some supplements that women can look to, like, if they could look at their symptoms, say that they have hot flashes, or you would call them hot sweats, and and they're just, or say before they get to even that point, they're feeling just off, or like, what are some of your clients, what are their symptoms when they come to you, like in perimenopause, and
Okay.
how should they address that?
Yeah, so perimenopause women tend to come with the moods. So they're having, the PMS is getting worse, headaches and migraines around the period, low energy. That seems to be the thing that is kind of going on. And for any woman that is perimenopause, each period that you have is a window into how you will transition into menopause. So, they're the little warning signs that she's talking to you and it's time to change. So they're the kind of symptoms that they would come to me for. But I feel that in terms of supplements.
Wait, can I ask you a question? When you say each period is a window and she's talking to you, so your body's talking to you, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so each period that you have in your 40s or 50s or, whatever age you are,
yeah,
your symptoms that you're experiencing. So if you're experiencing PMS and they're getting worse, or you're experiencing really low energy, fatigue, or migraines, or you're angry, or you've got brain fog around your end of your cycle as you start your period, then that is almost a mirror that's out there reflecting how you will transition into menopause. So the migraines are likely to get worse. The PMS is likely to get worse. The bloating is likely to get worse. It's all those things, all those symptoms you're experiencing, even if you're bleeding heavily as well, that's likely to get worse. It's all those things that she's talking to you, the body, she's talking to you and showing you that there's imbalance, and therefore is to find balance before you get to the menopause.
That's key. That's interesting. I never even, your body's always talking to you. So yeah, I like that. She's talking to you. Yeah, that's really good. I didn't understand that it's each period is a window, and basically it's a mirror, as you said. And so it's just saying, hey, I mean, here's an imbalance. Let's correct this imbalance, because it's not normal, right? Like, from what I've read before and understand, like periods didn't used to be for women like so painful, so filled with, I mean, we live in a very toxic environment. We all know that, right? So we've got our air, our water, our food is all, it's all contaminated in some form or another, heavy metals and all kinds of stuff. So so now it's a little more difficult to deal with, but it can be dealt with. And so, as you said, so food and all of that, that's that's really cool. I mean, that's really cool. It's a mirror to say, these are the imbalances. And I never really put those two together. Boy, the things I'm learning today, Pamela. That's a really good one. I never really thought that would be a mirror and saying, okay, your flow, your pain, it's just going to get worse as you get into menopause. But yeah, so correct that imbalance now. I'm telling you, correct it here. That's good. I like that. Okay, so let's get into supplements now that might be of help.
Yeah, so the thing with supplements, I really feel that, first of all, you should eat right. So get your food right first before you do any supplements at all, because you can supplement all you like, but if you're still eating all the foods that we've mentioned before, then there's just no point. You're wasting your money.
I'm with you, girlie. I'm with you.
So supplement obviously means to supplement the things that you're already doing. And I think, particularly with hormones, people are so desperate for an answer and for a solution to feel better, and they then reach for the supplements before they put good food in or get rid of all those things that are creating estrogen, aren't they? But say you've done all that, yeah, and you want to add some extra supplements into your body to enhance and improve your wellness, then definitely it has a place. The first thing I would do optimally is basically start off with the gut. So, you know, add a digestive enzyme into your diet, you know, making sure you're having them every meal, you know, 3 times a day, because that will just help you break down the nutrients from the good food that you're already putting into your body, which will help your hormones. Absolutely. You know, so start with that. And maybe you want to take some HDL. Do you know? Yeah, you know, that is hydrochloric acid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you might want to take that, you might not, but you know, a lot of my clients when they get to the 40s actually have really poor absorption, so I do add that in. But I think if you're going to add it in, you need to be speaking with a practitioner. Don't just go out there and buy them off the shelf and start taking them themselves.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
A lot of people think they have, you know, that low, it's opposite, right? So
Yeah.
it's good to be working with a practitioner.
Yeah, definitely. If you're adding something like that, I think you should. And then, you know, the other things like magnesium, we're probably all deficient in magnesium for sure. You know, magnesium, if you're struggling with sleep or any anxiety, that's great for helping to just calm the nervous system down as well. Have you heard of DIM? Have you heard of DIM? No. It's abbreviated DIM, and it's a really long word that I can't.
Yeah, don't worry. I mean, there's like so many. It's like MMS, right, or MSM, right? Methyl sulfoxide, methyl, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
I can say it when it's in front of me, but yeah. Okay, so
Yeah,
I think I have. So what does it do?
It's helps detoxification. So for the woman that's struggling with hot sweats, you know, this would be a really good supplement for her to take because it just helps detoxify the liver.
How do you spell that?
DIM, so DIM.
Okay, so that's just a. Okay. I don't know if I have in a health summit or something. It sounds real familiar, but now I'm gonna have to look it up. Okay, so that helps to detoxify the liver. Okay.
Yeah, so really good for, you know, the woman who is struggling with hot sweats. Broccoli sprouts as well. That's really good as well. Help detoxify the liver as well. And then, like, if she's struggling with energy wise, so you may want to support her adrenal gland. So I mean, you're a herbalist, aren't you? So ashwagandha as well. That's really good, isn't it, for adrenal health?
Shatavari is good. That's I mean, for like vaginal dryness and just overall women's health.
Right. Okay.
That's an Ayurvedic Shatavari.
Right.
Really good for that.
Is that a herb? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, from India.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I've not heard of that one. I shall make a note.
Shatavari. Shatvari. I believe it's called. Let me see if I. Yeah, it's Shatavari. It's really good. I take it.
Okay. Cool.
It's great for balancing everything and great for female dryness.
Okay, good. Yeah, vitamin B. You know, all your B's, B12, B9, which is folate, isn't it? Again, for helping detoxification as well, and supporting neurotransmitters as well. So supporting your brain, healthy brain function. Your vitamin D is essential, absolutely essential, you know, particularly for us here in the UK. And I don't know whereabouts where you are in America, but seriously, the sun doesn't shine for weeks, you know.
I know. God, I can't imagine that. I go crazy.
Yeah.
We get sun in Colorado all the time. Yeah, we're very, very fortunate.
Yeah, well, the sun does not shine. We had I think about 10 days straight without any sunshine.
Oh gosh, that's a long time. You'll have to come over here. Well, you were in India though recently. Was there a lot of sun there?
Yeah, every day.
Was it awesome?
It was amazing.
What did you like best about that trip besides being with your daughter?
Yeah,
which obviously was the highlight.
It was a highlight. I don't know, just a sense of freedom being there. Just I don't know, because you're outdoors, because it's so opposite to what it's like here, you know, outdoors all the time. And so that just felt really freeing, compared to in England. You know, we're just coming out of winter, which means that we've been indoors for a long time. It's been dark and cold. So just like a sense of freedom being there. It was lovely.
So lots of sunshine by the
Yeah,
ocean.
yeah,
I watched was it the ocean that were you guys on the ocean doing yoga or something? I don't know. I watched your Instagram stories and stuff on it.
I was doing some cartwheels on the ocean.
Yeah, it was cartwheels. It's like Pella free. She's doing cartwheels in the ocean. Yeah. That was really good, and they were good cartwheels too.
Thank you. You know.
Oh yeah, it's amazing when you so that vitamin D, getting back to that. But if you don't have it, I mean, if you're stuck indoors, because I know we've had some longer periods of like we got snow and then rain. It's like, come on, we get it like every other day or so, not now, but I mean, it's like, okay, we're ready for spring, you know, and then it snows. It's like, no, although it's really pretty. But the sun comes out the next day, melt it all, and so we get a lot of sun. But still, just those times when it's gray for like 2 days or 3 days or a little cold or something, kind of like, okay, you know, so that vitamin D is critical.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, it helps balance our mood, it helps our bone health, you know, it supports our immune system. So it is so important to have, you know, optimal levels of vitamin D. So
Melatonin and sleep better and all of that. So just on vitamin D, I don't know what kind you take, but I mean, it's like it's important to get ones that aren't soy based, right? If you're trying to avoid GMO, because a lot of them come in little capsules with soy. You want to look for like sunflower lecithin or something else. Do you give drops, or like what do you prescribe, or not prescribe, but what do you prescribe, Dr. Pamela? What do you the word doctor is kind of a bad word in my I know it's supposed to mean teacher, but anyway, so I say it in jest. So do you have like certain brands, or where people can look for ones that don't have like genetically modified materials and stuff inside? Like, I don't know, do you have certain brands that you use in the UK that?
Yeah, I do actually. In fact, somebody asked me the other day about supplements, whether, you know, you could just go and buy a supplement off the shelf, you know, whether I'd recommend that. But, you know, I don't. I buy myself, recommend for my clients, like, you know, high grade supplements, you know, in pharmaceutical grade. So Designs for Health is one of the brands I use, and you can get it in the States, and Innate as well. They're the two brands I tend to use.
Which one? Innate?
Innate, yes.
Oh, not even heard of that. That's good.
Okay.
But that's a pharmaceutical grade or nutraceutical.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. Well, Ms. Pamela, let me see if there's any other questions that I had. Oh, yes. Are there any like organizations online or places where women can go, professional organizations or places where they can go to look for like a doctor that you, or a health practitioner that you would like recommend if they weren't able to go to you? Or I know you're not a doctor, but what organizations? No. We walk on eggshells as we say things. Who's watching us today? Who's listening in?
It's a really good question, though, you know. And when I saw your question, I was like, oh God, you know, I can't answer this, because, you know, I don't think there is any kind of organisation that I'm aware of. The only organisation I know is my training. So Jessica Drummond, who's integrated pelvic health course that I did, she has a sort of a directory of other practitioners like myself who's gone through her training. So that's the only thing that I'm aware of. And I think some are doctors, some are practitioners like myself. But apart from that, I don't know any sort of directory online that's somebody who wanted to find, a doctor that specialized in sort of
Hormones or,
functional nutrition, sort of lifestyle
yeah.
medicine, that kind of thing.
So how would people reach you? Because I mean, you work like I could say, Pamela, can you help me, right? And you can work with me. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, it's kind of global at this point with the internet, and you can help
it is.
because an issue is an issue. So,
Absolutely, yeah. So I
so
work.
how can people reach you?
Yeah, so I work with women online, just like we're talking right now, face to face. I also see people in my clinic here in Nottingham as well. So my website is smarterchange.co.uk, and on my website, obviously www. On my website, you can sign up for my newsletters. You can download a report, a menopause report that tells you about what foods to eat, what things to eliminate of your diet, even lifestyle-wise, sort of the toxic things that we mentioned before, to create a hormonal balance. But also I have a recording as well, because I'm a hypnotherapist as well. And so I've written a recording about celebrating the change, like when I was inspired about, when a young girl starts a period, and nowadays they celebrate it. They didn't when I was young, but they do now. They celebrate that time. And sometimes I think you can buy like presents for young girls that are starting a period. And it'll like be everything that she needs.
Oh, that's really cool.
That she needs to know about starting a period, about being a woman. So I was inspired by that. So I wrote a recording, a script about a woman transitioning to menopause, and that she would be the one that create the gift, and she would put everything into that she knew she wanted. So sort of speaking to the subconscious mind, that she actually knows what she needs to make her feel whole. So you can download that off my website as well.
Why don't I have that? I subscribed to your newsletter. I must have missed that somehow. And that's the free gift. Maybe I think I signed up for that, and then for some reason, maybe I'm gonna have to check. Now I have to go back and get it. That sounds like awesome. I need to celebrate. I need to celebrate my menopauseness. I don't know how appropriate this is, but I'm going to tell you my story of my first period, because there is no celebration like for me either. So I was babysitting, and so it started. I'm like, oh my God, I'm hurt. I was like, what is this? I had no idea. And so I had to have my mom help with the baby, the other kids. It was just down the street. I think I was like 14. It was later. I mean, kids are like doing it now, like at 9 and stuff, with all the estrogen and all the soy and everything. But anyway, so I think I was like 14. And so then my mom shows me these Playtex tampons, and they're plastic, right? All these super toxic stuff that, I mean, there's so many other things, cups and other things that women can use now, which my daughter thankfully is using other things. But anyway, so like, it's like, okay, I have to put this up there. And it's like, but I didn't know I had to squeeze. I didn't know I had to push the cotton thing. I thought the whole thing went. So I'm like, I'm walking with this plastic, it's like, mommy, it's still sticking out.
Oh God, poor thing.
She's like, you gotta push it. The plunger thing. So, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm embarrassed for saying this, but I'm gonna put it out there on the podcast. Because you know what? Sometimes things like these are like we're not taught. This is how you use it. This is how you do it. I had no idea how to do it. So there I was like, ow, this is really painful.
I can imagine. How awful.
So that was my first experience with a tampon. And Lord knows all the, what is that called? Toxic shock syndrome and stuff. I mean, they're just, when I took my herbalism classes, and when it was explained to me, like how horrible this stuff is, plus the cotton that's not organic, so it has all these pesticides on it, and just how, and then the plastic with all the BPA, and I mean, like, it's like, oh my God, like the stuff that we're putting into our most intimate places that literally just like, boom, all those mucous membranes just suck those toxins up, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, but it was a funny story, and I still think it's funny today because it was so, I was just like, oh, wait, the whole thing was just so traumatic. Because first I thought I was dying. And then I had no idea it was even about to happen. and then that. So it was just an incredible experience. One I would not repeat. This is why we're so wise. We live in that. So okay, so they can follow you. So I wanted your website again. Can you spell that out for me? It's smart.
So SMARTER, smarter, and then change. It's all one word. So CHANGE, smarter change.
Smarter change.
Change, yeah.
I love that. .com.
.co.uk.
Oh, .co.uk.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then they can follow you like I do with your amazing stories on Instagram. What is your Instagram? I love your stories. And she teaches on these stories, guys, girls, gals, people. I say guys. Anyway, she teaches. Like, just get ready to learn. Okay,
Yeah.
so your Instagram, what's your...
So Instagram is Pamela Windle, hormonal coach, or hormone coach, I think it is, hormone coach.
Okay, so it's at Pamela Windle.
Yes.
Okay. And then Facebook,
Facebook, I have a different page, yeah. So it's Pamela Windle, Smarter Change, Wellness for Mind and Body.
What?
I know.
I'll get these. I'll you can send it to me after, and I'll put them on the show notes so people can follow you.
Sorry. I'm actually thinking about changing it, to be honest, because it's too long.
Well, mine is Lenny Wennerstrom, the common sense health expert. So I was like, I put CH. I did initials, and then somebody said, "You can't do that. That's like a designation or something." That it's like, yes, I can. I can say I'm the common sense health expert because I am.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, girly. Is there anything else that you would like to share before we end this?
I just want to probably say that, we've talked a lot about nutrition and supplements, but it's also about, your lifestyle and your thought pattern, what you think about yourself. The conversations you have with yourself all of that has an impact on your hormones. So, it's about looking at you holistically, broadly, and that's where the change happens, where the magic happens.
I love that. And now you have to tell us a funny story.
Oh God, a funny story. Oh God, thanks for putting me on the spot
of being a woman.
Oh God, I don't know.
Any funny story. It can be anything.
Oh,
I told you a funny story. In fact, I told you a very embarrassing one. I think I even turned red.
Did you really? Oh my God. I don't know. There's one funny story, but I don't know what I can say.
Hey, I already said a really, like a very, very intimate funny story. You have to share it.
Okay, well, this is on a sexual nature, but not sexual.
What? This is a family show.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you this story. My daughter can't listen to this.
I don't know. My podcast's pretty widespread.
Oh, is it? Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Okay. So my daughter was, I think she was about 10 at the time, and we were traveling over to Denmark to see some friends, and for some reason I decided to bring my vibrator with me. Okay.
Okay, I'm loving this story already.
Okay. Oh God, I'm talking about it now, and it feels like it was real. It feels real now. So I decided to pack it with me in the suitcase. God knows why I decided to do that, but his hormones at the time were obviously pretty high, and so we're at my friend's house, and they lived in a house that was on 3 stories, and the girls Nicole, my daughter, and her friend were downstairs in the basement. That's where they were sleeping. And I hadn't seen my friend for, months and months. So we're in the kitchen and we're talking, how we are, our girls are. And so we're just like talking so much. And Nicole and her friend were kept coming in and interrupting us and saying, "Oh, can we have breakfast? Can we have breakfast?" And we said, "Yeah, in a minute. We're just talking." So eventually, Nicole, I think we got breakfast, and then Nicole wanted to have a bath and get ready. And so she was like, "Mummy, what clothes should I put on?" I said, "Well, do you want to choose your clothes yourself?" So she went into the suitcase and came upstairs into the kitchen and held this bright pink, vibrant pink, luminous pink vibrator in her hand. "Mummy, what's this?" And the first thing that came to my head was, "It's a torch."
You're the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Who was all there? Was just your friend and then?
Yeah, just my friend and Nicole, but her daughter must have seen it as well.
Did your friend die laughing?
Yeah, we both did. Like, she grabbed it from Nicole. Oh, so embarrassed. I never forget that. That was so funny.
That was worth waiting for. Oh my gosh, that's a great way to end this. Oh man, the things that happen in motherhood and mommyhood and womanhood, huh?
There was a crossover that I wished had never happened. I probably scarred her for the rest of her life.
Well, no, she didn't even know what it was.
I know, but the thing is, she might remember the pink.
Did you tell her with the torch?
I've never told her. I've never mentioned it since. I dare.
You have to. You have to know. That's your penance for being a mommy and a woman. I'm just kidding. Your penance. That's your celebration.
Yeah.
Your torch.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was funny. Oh, Pamela, you are amazing. Thank you so incredibly mucho for this amazing, enlightening, funny conversation. And thanks for teaching my viewers and listeners. It's really so important that women don't feel alone and that they're, and that they recognize that there's something they can do. There's a lot of things that they can do and that they're not alone. And so I'm so grateful to you. I love you, girlie. Thank you for the story. Thanks for the laughs.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Wild and Free Healthy You podcast. I hope you learned something new. I appreciate you so incredibly mucho. Make sure you always take care of you first because your health is your number one asset. I'm here to help you protect it. To listen to more episodes, check out LennyMotivates.com and follow me on Instagram @LennyMotivates. Don't forget to share this podcast with family and friends. Remember to always be your biggest fan and your biggest cheerleader because no one can love you more than you can. Take care of you. Ciao.